Howdy, pals. Welcome back to another episode of the Pullbox Pals podcast. My name is Monk, and with me is my pal, Mad. And you made it through without laughing.
I'm
very proud of you. I could see
did.
you holding it back, though.
I was really holding it back.
What gets you? What makes you giggle?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't take much.
That's true. I always think that it's my my radio voice that I do for the intro.
You did it. You very much did a radio voice.
Yeah, and I have a radio voice, which is fine. I like it. I would have loved to have been. I can't remember if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but I listened to radio as a kid. You know, like Friday night while playing video games. Like there was just some stations, and that's where I fell in love with ballads, like 80s rock ballads.
Oh, heck yeah!
They would be playing them, and I would just be like listening to like whatever while playing Grand Theft Auto or Tony Hawk, you know? That's what I was swinging back and forth between. But yeah, I would have loved to have been a radio guy if it wasn't a dying industry. And if we come in on the tail end of this one.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the radio is on like life support right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I listen to the radio like because I have a little car at work, and so like it just kind of comes on, and so I'm just listening to it while I'm like driving around, and it is very much just like listening to some guy being like, hey, is anybody listening? Hey, check out our Facebook page. There's a lot of that, which again, you're looking at your demographic there that like you're reaching out to people on Facebook. There's a certain age bracket that, you know, they don't give a rat's whatever about anybody under the age of 20.
A rat's tail.
Yeah, a rat's tail.
Yeah. My dad was a radio guy, and I
believe it.
You know, he like retired before like all the streaming services like really got going. So, but it is kind of sad to see it disappearing. I turn on the radio every once in a while. The problem for me is I don't really like the radio stations in my area.
That's fair.
And like the one that does play music I would listen to, it's like they make a loop of like 10 songs and just play that throughout the entire day. And
I mean, I feel like that's what a lot of radio is. Do you remember? So when I worked at this factory that made bird food, and they had a radio playing, and there was the show, I guess, started at 7 a.m, which is when our shift started. And it was called It's 5 o'clock somewhere show. Like that was just the name of the radio show, which is you know, just like taking that broad idea. But they took it from that Alan Jackson song they would use that like sound bite of it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And then for all you music heads out there, there's a big snare smack right before everybody comes back in. And the sound of that snare, I can, like, my grandchildren are going to be able to pick that out of a lineup because it's so built into my DNA. I just have heard it so many times it's 5 o'clock somewhere smack. Maybe I'll try to cut it into the audio version, but
maybe we could use that snare right at the end of the intro.
Well, I can't pull that in.
We just pop right in.
That's true. It does kind of end on a doo doo doo. I mean, that's kind of like this what the snare
smack.
I mean, I fear sometimes because if you go to like our TikTok and then you just like scroll on our TikTok, I just continually use our intro song for like the background music. Yeah. So I fear that could deter people because our song is very repetitive. So I don't want people to just like go insane just hearing do 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 do. I mean, it's a great tune. But how many TikToks can you sit through? But people can sit through like a lot of TikToks.
Oh
yeah. I'm staying away from it.
I'm not going to get into the hours TikTok.
I mean, I'm no better. If you look at like how long I've played Tony Hawk, why is Tony Hawk the video game better than TikTok the phone app? You know,
I mean, I think you're a little more active with playing Tony Hawk.
I'm not. I'm sitting on the floor. My back
Yeah,
hurts.
but I mean, you're
I just
using
did
your
so much.
fingers and you're having to think about what you got to do. Whereas like TikTok, you're just
That's fair. You're just scrolling along. So, quick plug for my YouTube channel and my TikTok. You can go. Ironically enough, that I just post stuff on the internet and run away from it. I try to stay away from it as much as possible.
run away.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and again, this kind of just segues nicely into what we are here to talk about. But I do genuinely enjoy like just having access to communities at large of being like, hey, if you're interested in this thing, like there's always like a okay community of people out there. You know, not everyone is super toxic, except for the things that are just inherently toxic, you know?
Yeah.
And it's easy to find like those safe places where you can like explore those niche things. And even if it's like, I was thinking about, you know, I have several Instagram accounts. And so it's cool to just be going on to my band page and like see everybody, like all the stuff that they're doing, and then go on to like the pullboxpals and see what all of our friends are doing. You know, it's just, it's an interesting way to like compartmentalize the internet, but it also drives me insane.
Yeah.
But how it segues in is like, we have a great comic community.
Yeah.
And that you talk about a whole bunch. And now it's
I do. I just really appreciate it. Just really appreciate the comic community.
Again, like the internet can be such a like like the only image I got is just a pool with urine in it, you know, like somebody just peed in it. Because it's like, oh yeah, this could have been great for everybody. But somebody on Twitter had to pee, you know?
So somebody had to take a nice long tinkle.
Can I be happy? Can I just say I feel like society
you can be happy.
I'm sorry. Can I be happy? Please, for the love of God. I feel like we as a society haven't accepted saying X meaning Twitter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've all kind of been like, no, it's Twitter. We know what it is.
Isn't it still like twitter.com too?
Well, I get spam emails and it says X and then in brackets, formerly Twitter. Because I think people have gotten in trouble with like partners or like their parents for thinking that it's an adult website, which it should be, you know.
I mean,
it technically kind of
it can be. It can be. Yeah.
Anyways, we're on the internet. We're having fun with our pals talking about fun comic book stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been talking so much. You think what's been going on with you?
You've just been, you know, trotting around this show, Pony, and that's fine. You can do that. You know, before we get into polls,
you got something for me?
Well, we I guess got a package delivered to my house.
We sure
this
did.
week, and you said I can keep it, even though you're the one who did the supporting here. But yeah, we
again. I'm just shouting out the pool box. I did it again. The comic book lair. Those guys are so great at just loving on each other, and I'm terrible at loving on you. And I want to love on you. You don't have to reciprocate. Don't ever send me anything. If you send me anything, I'm sending it back.
I die a little inside each time you're not nice to me.
I'm so worried. My biggest fear is that one day people are all just going to be like, you know what? He does suck. And then everyone's just going to turn on me. That's why I'm so nice to
that's a real fear. It is a real fear.
It sure is.
But yeah, anyways, we got to
wait, hold on. Let me set you up for this.
Oh yeah.
Hey pal, I heard you got something in the mail.
I did. I got something in the mail, and it came from our friends Mike Dean and Tim Radicke. They
remember them.
Yeah, they write a comic called Grave Brigade. Grave Brigade. Really, I have really Grave Brigade. There we go. Got it. Nailed it. But they wrote us a nice little note here. It says, Mad Monk, thanks for backing Grave Brigade #1 and for helping spread the word. You dudes are awesome. Thanks again, Mike and Tim.
Oh, I love that so much.
Nice little note from those guys.
That's so cool.
But yeah, like I was actually expecting that I was getting another Kickstarter I'd supported, and that one's actually still a long ways off from being delivered. So when I opened this up, it's like, this isn't what I thought it was. And and I started to inquire. Like, I don't remember like being the one who backed this.
Yeah,
Monk
for
must have done it.
a peek behind the curtain.
There's a little more artwork.
That's great. Okay, maybe I'll have you send me some of this stuff.
But yeah, here's Great Brigade #1.
That looks fantastic. Yeah, I'm jealous now that I see it. But again, I'm loving on you. My jealousy is only it's only surpassed by my want of you to have joy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh,
you nailed it.
I did.
But this also, so the support of our pals here also came with Superbud issue 1. It also came with issue 2. And my favorite cover out of all of them, it also came with Superbud issue 3.
That is fantastic.
Oh, sorry, I hit my mic there.
That was a good mic.
And then got some artwork here that's also signed by Mike and Tim for Superbud. And the last thing in here is actually kind of like a little announcement. They got another Kickstarter coming up soon for The Last House on Gallows Hill.
Oh, that looks dope.
But yeah, a little blurb about it. So the Kickstarter's going to be October 11th through 31st. And the little synopsis here says, when their friend disappears inside a mysterious house only they can see, this group of friends risk their lives to rescue him in this 28-page all ages horror comic, which is the season for spooky and horror things. So this is great. So yeah, this does come from Mike and Tim, and you can just check them out on Kickstarter. I think you can just Google The Last House on Gallows Hill, and you'll find the Kickstarter for that if you'd like to support them and support them with their other comics as well.
I like that name. Yeah. Man, you did it twice.
I know. It's just a big box, man.
It happens to the best of us. But yeah, that's a great name for a comic, and everything that they've done so far has been fantastic.
It has. I've really enjoyed everything they've put out so far, so I'm looking forward to Gallows Hill.
Yeah, I'm very happy that we backed that.
But other than that, I did stroll on over to the comic shop today.
Wait, hold on. We didn't ask. I was thinking today about how we're going to make this a t-shirt. I'm still trying to figure out how we can make this a. Did you make it to your LCS today?
Yeah. Yes, I did. I made it to my LCS.
That. We're gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna write the Pentagon. That's ours. They do that, right? They're in charge of copyright.
I think. Yeah. That sounds right. Yeah.
I know what I'm
but yeah, I made it there. I did pick one thing up off the shelf, which I'll show first.
I hope it's the same thing I got.
I don't think it is.
We'll find out.
I looked at the Key Comics list just to see if there's anything I might want to get, and I actually was going to get it for the main cover, but then I found they had a variant cover that I liked better because Yoda's on it. So I picked up Star Wars: The High Republic, Shadows of Starlight.
Nice. That's not the comic I was thinking of, but it was a Star Wars comic. But we'll get there in a few.
Oh, I may have gotten it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I kind of dropped off High Republic. I don't think I didn't pick up Phase 3. I don't know if actually Phase 3 is started yet, but I haven't requested it. So I might pick it up when it comes out if it hasn't yet.
Right.
But we'll see. There's so many ways to consume Star Wars these days. And but next up, I got West of Sundown #7. I really like this cover.
That is a dope cover. Those covers have always been like just borderline, just continue to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you stuck on. I feel like I say this a lot for some of the stuff, but like I'm happy you stuck on that.
It is nice to like be reading something that's gone beyond like 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. Like, this is issue 7. It is fun just to like tag along with these stories and just see where they go. I've been enjoying West of Sundown. It's not like my favorite thing out there, but it's been enjoyable just for like the horror fan in me. And I mostly consume horror through reading Stephen King or reading a comic. I will watch movies every once in a while, but actually I've watched quite a few horror movies in the last week or two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anything good?
I mean the ratings for them on like IMDb and like not Kickstarter, maybe Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, like aren't the best, but a lot of times, like my brother-in-law is a really big horror fan. Like he has like a Shudder account, and he's he's seen them all
Mhm.
in a way. And him and I were talking because we had to go up to Portland yesterday, and on the way up we were just talking about like horror movies, and he was saying like sometimes a lot of his favorite ones don't have the best reviews.
Yeah. I think that that's kind of how it goes with horror, is that horror doesn't traditionally get good ratings, you know?
Yeah.
It just kind of exists as like a genre that you're either going to like the movie or not. Because I think that like a lot of that comes from like people are like, I didn't like the gore or like the killing. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean that the movie wasn't good, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't
And
like
and
the way
if
that
you're like a really big like horror film fan, like you kind of understand just like the shots and just how scenes are filmed. Like there's a lot of tropes within horror film, and just getting those done and checked off the list is really what makes it a good horror film. So
and subverting it, you know, like being able to like do the tropes and like do something new, you know?
yeah.
People are always kind of looking for that. Anywho, what's in your next comic, pal?
And then I got another trade paperback this week.
Ooh.
And I'm pretty sure this is one that you wanted me to read. It's written by Kyle Starks. Does that ring
Okay.
a bell?
It does ring a bell. Is it oh,
Where
you're really
Monsters Lie.
that's a beautiful cover. It looks like it feels nice.
Is it where monsters lie like they're not telling the truth, or it's where monsters lie like they're having a little snooze?
You asked this the first time I either reviewed
I
this
know.
or
I just don't know if I cleared it up. I don't remember.
here's what I'll say. You tell me next week, same bad time, same bad channel.
Sounds good. I'll be there. Next up, I do have another Star Wars here. It's Hyperspace Stories. This is
Okay.
issue number 9.
I saw that. I like that because what's the name of the guy on it? I was gonna say Bo Katan, but that's not him.
It's Quinlan Vos,
Quinlan Vos,
who's one of my like favorite Jedi, and he doesn't have a whole lot of
no,
like
I meant
story out there.
no, it's Cade. Who's the blue fellow?
Oh, and Cad Bane's on there too.
Cad Bane. What did I say
Yeah.
initially? I feel like I was close. Somebody listen to the playback and see if I was close.
Somebody tell us. Yeah.
Anyway,
Or if you're just catching up, put it in the comments. Then maybe this is the one you got. This cover is freaking rad. It's Darth Vader. It's part of the Dark Droid storyline.
No, but I did see that, and I was very curious about it because I don't think the way that they were sitting on the shelf, I didn't see the person at the bottom, so I just assumed that was like a droid that was kind of small and like walked along the floor. I'm like, why did they put that on a cover? But that's much more menacing.
Yeah,
I like what was it called? Dark Droids.
Yeah, so there's like a Dark Droid storyline going on right now. There's like, a limited series of 5 called Dark Droids that's out right now. I haven't picked it up and read those. I'm probably going to wait for Marvel Unlimited to have them and just burn through those in a sitting once they're all out. This next one is issue 3 of The Sacrificers. If you can recall, I like really enjoyed the preview for issue 1, but I didn't enjoy issue 1 overall, but issue 2 like really got me like going with it. So I'm pretty excited to get into this, and I love this character on the front. Just
Has he been introduced yet? Has it been introduced yet?
I believe that they were introduced at the end of issue 2. I might look back on that. Something else, we're actually going to be talking about this today. Because our buddy Jonathan Hedrick at issue 3 of Quicksand came out today, but Jonathan actually sent us the full first arc, and we'll be talking about that later on in this episode. This next one I remember asking for, but I never put it on like my secret source checklist, and so I didn't know I was actually getting it today. I really like the colors on the cover. It's called Mom Breaks the Internet from Scout Comics.
Oh, that looks so cool. I want that. That wasn't at my shop. Oh.
Yeah, I got 3 Scout Comics today, which makes for a nice Sunday.
I barely got 3 comics.
I know I have way more than I thought I was getting. This actually came out last week, but I waited to get it this week. It's Masquerade number 8. I'm kind of on like the fence about finishing out Masquerade. I might just ask my shop to stop pulling it after issue 10.
You might just masquerade your shop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
Stop wait, don't. People are applauding at home.
Oh, they are?
Joke.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, for you. Okay. For playing along with my bad joke. Yeah. Good.
This is a Marvel one I'm actually pretty excited about. I love to pick up some Marvel ones, but it's called Gods.
I did see that, and it was on the preview. That cover was on the cover of a preview book that I got.
And this thing feels pretty thick. I think Gods is an acronym for something, but I'm not. It might not be. We'll find out.
Let's figure it out. Gooses on
demand.
Suddenly.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
God. So, okay, plural.
My third Scout comic I have in hand here. It is Fun Guy. I really like the cover. It's why I got it.
Cool too.
I know.
Mad. Right? Oh.
I got all the goods.
You did.
Including Enfield Gang Massacre number 3.
I got that one.
Oh man. I just got that one.
I only can say I got that.
Another one that came out last week, Stuff of Nightmares Red Murder. We had talked about it a little bit last week. I went ahead and pulled the trigger. I might just pass this on to going on sale at my shop, or not on sale, but I'll sell it through my shop just because it's Halloween season. It is R.L. Stine. I did enjoy the first series. I just don't know how much I enjoyed it to keep going, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So we're going for it. And the last one that came out last week is The Dead Lucky number 9, another one that I'm considering dropping after this arc finishes. So
you said
more
old and callous,
but just more so of I can't keep picking up new things and continue with things that because both Masquerade and Dead Lucky, I'm behind. I'll probably have 3 issues each to read still of those. I've read probably the first issue of the second arc for each of them. And so it's a tough call, but yeah, they might find their way to the chopping block for me. So,
hey man, it happens. And it's a shame, every comic book podcast, including this one, has talked about this, but it's just hard to, justify spending so much for so many comics and you want to, but it's hard with storage, all that. Look how many comics we have. So many comics. And we don't even have that many.
The other thing too is The Dead Lucky is part of another universe within Image Comics, and I'm just not up to speed with all of those. Radiant, it's part of the Radiant Black universe,
right?
And I haven't read a bunch of Radiant Black. I've read a few things here and there that are tied into it, but it's hard to know all that's going on in that world, and I just don't know if I want to keep trying my hand at it when there's already so much to catch up on.
Connected worlds, man. I think there's something to be said that time has passed, that people are really looking for that. I don't think people are so much anymore. But what people are looking for is to know what I bought at my comic book shop this week.
Is exactly what the people are demanding.
I only got 2 so I got 4 comics in total, and 2 of them were new this week, including the Enfield Gang Massacre number 3 and one other one. So I'm going to sandwich it with 2 other ones that I came out last week or later, but they were just ones that I thought looked cool, and so I wanted to grab them. Our shop was barren this week for new stuff, at least on the indie side. But yeah, I'm very jealous of your pool.
I mean, mine is also kind of it has some stuff from last week mixed in with it, but
right, that's fair.
Trying to see how many comics actually came out this week.
Well, while you're saying that, I'm gonna say that a comic that came out last week that I got is Kill Your Darlings number 1. When I was pulling into the comic shop today, I was listening to our friends over at the Comic Book Lair, and Kyle was talking about this, And I was like, you know what, that sounds
Yeah, he
pretty.
did talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, that sounds pretty interesting. And yeah, so I saw it sitting on the shelf, small pool week. So I'm like, you know what? I picked it up, and I'm really glad that I did, because when I was sitting in my car, I opened it up and like was just kind of gandering around at the art, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, that's kind of a bad page on the one side because it's a drawing of a drawing. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it looks. I'm very intrigued. I've been enjoying fantasy stuff of lately, and this is kind of what it looks like. So
Yeah.
let's do it. I mean, it kind of looks dark. I know what the premise is, and it kind of reveals it on this cover, which I really like. I don't know if this is a variant or not. Um, no, it looks like it's normal one. But yeah, it was a good one. This next one is the one that I thought that you may have randomly picked up for some reason. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's I feel very
Maybe
random that you would have
maybe
got
I
this.
maybe I should have.
Nah, let's say no.
Mm.
I mostly got this because, well, honestly, for one reason, like I realized that like I want to treat myself to Star Wars, but I don't want to go outside of the things that are super close to the original trilogy,
Yeah.
and or maybe go back and rewatch the prequels. I've been kind of flirting with that.
Mm.
But I kind of have been watching them. I've been watching with movie commentaries on, but I haven't been watching them. You know, I've just
Yeah.
been putting them on while I play video games because I have super ADHD and just have 17 screens in front of me right now. But anyways, what
You
I
got
got,
your YouTube video playing, you got your Star Wars with commentary on, you
yeah,
got your music playing, you got Tony Hawk going, and you even have TikTok open. So
yeah, and I can't sleep at night, and I don't know why. Uh, but when I can't sleep at night, I'm gonna pick up Star Wars Max Rebo.
oh
Give that a
man.
read. Uh, for those of you that don't know who Max Rebo is, Max Rebo is the guy who plays like this little drum kind of keyboard instrument in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
And I am like super intrigued of like the Jabba world. I think it's like one of the best things that I think it's one of the best things from that movie, uh, the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's one of the best things, maybe even the whole trilogy, just as an idea of like what this space kind of world is. It's like the bar in A New Hope, but like on steroids,
Yeah.
you
Well, because
know?
like you kind of get it kind of gets alluded to in A New Hope,
Mhm.
but like you really get like you get put in that place with Return of the Jedi, and it is like an exciting world. I mean, Jabba's one of the biggest characters in Star Wars. Like,
Pun intended.
show me a Star Wars fan that doesn't know who Jabba the Hutt is,
I mean, that would
and they
honestly
will.
be like it'd be like saying if you didn't know who Chewie was, you know, like he's almost like as ambiguous for just being in. Honestly, not that much, you know,
Yeah.
like he's in it for like maybe half an hour and then he blows up, you know.
Yeah. Like
So
if that. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
But anyways, shout out to Jabba. Also shout out to Jabba's cousin, the guy who has like the robot legs, who
Oh
for
yeah.
some reason they decided not to put in the Book of Boba Fett, and instead they made up two other huts that had nothing to do with the story. Anyways,
Yeah.
I just like to come in and stab the Book of Boba Fett while its corpse is already laying on the ground.
Yeah.
Um,
That horse has been dead and kicked quite a few times.
oh yeah. Anywho, um, we something that hasn't well that's a terrible segue, so I'm going to say that our friend Jonathan Hedrick was super nice, like you said earlier, to send us the entire arc of Quicksand.
Yeah.
And something that you and I had reviewed previously, issue number 1 and 2 of. So if you
Yeah.
want to go back and check out those reviews, they're probably in the title, Quicksand. But yeah,
Yeah.
do you want to set up the story? You're so much better at story setting upping than I am.
Yeah. So this is kind of like a sci-fi story. Basically what goes on is one day like this big old pit opens up, I think in like Egypt, like probably in Cairo,
Mhm.
and these like I don't know, kind of reminded me of Starship Troopers a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like those kind of creatures kind of crawl out of the earth and wreak havoc, and then they disappear back into their hole. And we humans are like, well, we gotta know what this is. We gotta study it. So they send a team down. Team doesn't come back, and issue 1 basically picks up after like that introduction with the wife of one of the people who went down into the hole.
On
and
Canary
she's
One. It's
on
called
Canary
Canary
One.
One.
Yeah, Canary One. And she kind of actually shows up and is now in like the head honcho, but she's a female, so all the men are like, "Oh, you can't do nothing because you're a woman," and she's like, "That's not nice. I'm going to show you what I can do." And she's really cool. I really like her character throughout the arc.
Mm-hmm.
And she does just, she comes out guns a-blazing essentially.
Here's what I'll say. I feel like we should talk a little bit about issue number 3, kind of in detail, and then maybe a little bit past that in very vagueness, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I just wanted to let people know that we weren't planning on spoiling anything.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me get.
so at the end of issue number 1 is when she gets to prove that she's kind of a BA, because the creatures come back up out of the hole for the first time since it opened.
Yeah.
And along with it comes some people from in the hole, I believe. I remember correctly.
I think that's issue 2 is when somebody comes back or is brought back up. Like the creatures like kind of return at the end of issue 1, and then issue 2 is like this big old firefight.
Right, that's where the fight is.
But then at the end of it, one of the Canary One members had returned, and it was the husband of another guy who's kind of the secondary, like the first secondary character of the series. I can't remember his name.
I want to say Brent, but I don't think that's right. I'll look at it while I'll try to pull it up.
Dennis, right? Is it Dennis? Well, because issue 3 opens up with what is her name?
Oh yeah, we should know her name as well. Sorry, this has nothing to do with the story. We're just
Stephanie.
Yeah. Just bad at remembering character names, man.
Yeah.
You just for some reason have to be Max Rebo for me to remember who you are. You can't just be Steph. But again, nothing against any of the writing. That's just how our brains work.
Issue 3 opens up with kind of a flashback to like I think Dennis is the guy who has the husband who returned, but it opens up with a flashback of Stephanie and Dennis. They have just finished hooking up. She feels guilty and tells him to leave, but they still have to work together. And it picks up with them looking over one of the bodies of these creatures in like an examination room, one that they've like obliterated, and they're just studying it, and they break out into a fight, get kicked out of the examination room.
You want me to pull this up? I can pull it up. We can kind of just scroll through it together. Oh, my TV just magically turned on somehow. Well, that's kind of terrifying.
No, because don't you have like a little ghost in that door behind you?
Yes, I do. But there's the body that they're looking at. I'll see if I can zoom in. Oh, I can. Sweet. I hope Jonathan doesn't mind us. We won't show more than this because this is out today. You can get this.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I mean, that's the alien that they're fighting. That's what's coming up out of the hole. And yeah, that's terrifying. And I do love it. It's very much like, it looks like something that would come out of the earth.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's like similar to Worms and Tremors, like those kind of things.
Yeah.
Worms, holes. Am I thinking? No, that's not right. I forget what I'm thinking of. But yeah.
And then I'm also, as I'm scrolling through this, so Dennis is not the same guy that she has to work alongside. It's Ethan.
Okay. But that's the same guy from earlier that she slept with?
No, because Dennis is who she slept with. And,
gotcha.
I'm not really sure where Dennis fits in here.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure we'll figure it out.
He was the guy that was in the examination room that she was arguing with. But then gotcha. Ethan is the husband of the guy who came back.
Right.
And really this issue is just them, like, because what is his name?
Oh, there he is.
So good at. We're just really showing off how good we are with names.
Yeah, I feel like we should stay away from that and just kind of start talking about story.
But anyways, the guy that came back, like he's woken up and he's aware, and so this issue is them kind of questioning him about like what happened. Like, tell us everything that you know, and then by the end of this one, it's like, all right, we're going in. We're sending in Canary 2.
Let's see if we have any pictures like a ship or something like that going into Canary 2? There is a whole scene of where he recounts. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a scene where he recounts what does happen with Canary 1, which I really enjoyed, like just being able to see. I've talked, I think, before about this on the podcast, but I could easily be convinced of Hollow Earth theory. And again, not so much any of the like weird political or like alien aspects of it, just the fact that the earth itself is hollow. I really like that idea, you know. It just doesn't need to be anything else than that. There's just the earth's hollow, you know, and there's stuff, maybe there's stuff going on inside of it, but I don't think it's ruling our earth. Anyways, it's cool to just, I think that's just a fun thing. I don't believe it. I could be convinced if somebody showed me a picture of a cave, you know, and was like, this is the hollow earth. But yeah, the team comes across these monsters, and then again, I don't want to really spoil where it all goes, but it's it's a good action scene for sure.
Yeah, so this one they do get down in the, like, it shows them go down through the hole, and kind of leaves us with like, okay, they're about to get into another fight. Issue 4 then really wakes up with this fight, and there's a guy hanging out by the hole who's just like waiting to see if they're going to return. There's a lot, and like the military up top there, it's like, they're not coming back, we need to get out of here, like we need to roll up and move on, because this is a waste of time now, because we're not going to win. But they're down there and they're fighting and they're searching. And issue 4, they I believe at the end of it, they do find a survivor from Canary 1. And then issue 2, or sorry, the final issue kind of, so I will say this, like, it did not end in the way that I thought it was going to end. Like, you always have hope that things are going to turn out the way that you would want them to. You hope that, you know, families can be reunited and all that. And it doesn't necessarily end that way. It does end on like a good note, and it does kind of leave. And I'd said this to you backstage, like, I don't really know if Jonathan has a second arc for this coming out. I don't know if there's one planned. He may have actually told us that there is. I'm kind of remembering a little bit that maybe he did tell us, but I'm also might be confusing that with Dream Master. But yeah, it does kind of end in a way where it's like, is there going to be more? But it also ended satisfyingly that it was a complete arc, and it doesn't need a second arc to follow it up if it doesn't required.
If it never comes along. I think I would like to see more of this world. I will say, like, my broad overall opinion of it is that I enjoyed it. I really think it would make a cool movie or like a TV show premise. Just this idea of like people living around this hole where monsters come out of, and then just like kind of having to fight that. I really think that that's like a cool story. I would say my only criticism is that I think Jonathan is very, very, very good at doing narratives and thinking of really cool premises and stories, but I would like to see kind of more original dialogue and less kind of like, I just got off the phone with Washington and they said this, and it's like, well, yeah, of course, like that's kind of what happens in every movie that's like this. And again, you kind of have to have those tropes to just have those kind of stories, as we talked about horror earlier, which is kind of horror, but you have to have like the things that establish it as the genre. But I think that there are ways to do those that seem, again, unique and original. And I don't know. I think that that's what I would like to see more of, because I do think he's a super creative guy. Again, Caffeinated Hearts. Like I'm always going to go Caffeinated Hearts, and that's him, right? Or am I thinking of? Oh my god, I just had a panic attack.
But yeah, he did Caffeinated Hearts. He had Hyper Aware. He has the Recount, which I have right up above my shoulder here, right here. Right. And like that's the other thing with Jonathan is he's just so diverse in the genres that he covers, and he does write great narratives. And I just really enjoy him. And I also really enjoy that in this series he worked with Deborah Lionisis again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I love her.
We should have shouted her out at the beginning. But
But
the art in this, I think, does. And again, like I'm sorry. Can I mind if I cut you off real quick?
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna do it anyways. I feel like the art in this does a very good job at like cementing the dialogue between it, because the art is very good, but it's not like anything like the Cole or anything that's very like sharp, and there's no like hard edges to this in a way that like other darker comics have. And so like it's okay for the dialogue to not be like, it's just to be fun and kind of flowy, you know? So I can't really fault it at that when the dialogue is paired with the art. Yeah. So, but again, like I really did, I think the color palette was fantastic. I think I just really enjoyed it. It felt sandy, you know?
It did. It felt sandy, and everything really pops off the page. A lot of that too is just a contribution from the colorist and just how he used colors to bring the story to life. That was Sunil Gagri. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And another thing that this comic does really well is, over the time that we've been doing this podcast, I've really tried to pay attention to how lettering is used, and the lettering is a pretty big point, I think, in this comic, just in the way that like the booms and pows are used, and that was done by Christian Dokolomansky. I think that he's also worked with Jonathan before.
That sounds familiar.
But yeah, just everybody who worked on this series like did a great job. They nailed it in their tasks. So yeah, issue 3 came out today. So issues 4 and 5 will follow up soon. But yeah, if you don't know Jonathan Hedrick, go follow him. He's a great guy, super kind, and yeah, he writes great stories. So give him some support, and you can find a lot of what he's doing on Kickstarter as well. So
yeah. Maybe I don't have it linked currently, but maybe I will throw that. I'll find some of his Kickstarters and throw them in the description. So check those out if you're listening to the playback.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, I mean, we're in such a privileged position that people send us comics to review, you know? So like, I feel bad saying anything remotely negative, but again, like I'd rather people be honest with me about where I can improve, and, you know, instead of just letting me continually eat my own boogers, which I love to do, which that's not true. I've never done that once in
which
my
is
life.
fine. Apparently it's good for your immune system.
Yeah, well, it's not good for
your
social life. So, and
do it in private.
Yeah. Yeah, do whatever in private. Probably not whatever. Anywho should be my catchphrase, besides I already have too many of them. I just realized that I forgot to tell you a comic that I got.
Oh, what'd you get?
I got Transformers #1.
I considered getting that. They had a cover that was like the Micronauts, which they didn't have any more copies of at my shop, so I wasn't able to get it. But they had
what team this is? Who's doing this?
No.
I'll check, but I'm pretty sure it's the crew from Do a Power Bomb.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spencer. Mad, I'm not a Transformer. I've literally have watched 0 Transformers in my life. They weren't a thing when I watched as a kid. I've never watched any of the movies. This is going to be like the most Transformers media I've ever consumed.
All right.
Pick it up. Let's do it together. I don't want to do this alone. I feel like I'm going to read it once and then never read it again. You know?
Yeah.
I'll let you know. If it's good, I'll make you do it.
All right. Yeah. If it's good,
I'll send you a digital version of it somehow.
One of the reasons I decided not to pick that up is just because I have had a lot of Transformers in my life, and I don't know, the especially the latter movies that have come out for it have just not done Transformers justice. I was actually talking with a guy who was a kid when like the original cartoon came out for it, and him and I just got to talking about like, you know, the cartoon was just so good, and like the movie started off decent. I mean, it was Michael Bay, so a lot of explosions and fun, happy action, but at the same time, it's still just like it didn't really capture the full essence of like what Transformers means to people.
And apparently this one's a little violent. There's like people getting squished in it, like you see people die. So it's
who's the publisher again? I was kind of like
Image.
surprised. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
kind of surprised that it was Image and not like it seems like something more like Dark Horse would have or IDW.
Right. And also, let me just say this: I organized a bunch of my comics the past 2 weeks because it's just been a mess, and I organized them by what are that publishers, and I have an overwhelming amount of Image, which I was not expecting. I think a lot of it is Mark Miller and all the stuff that he's been putting out recently was a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, I think I have. I for sure have more Marvel comics than any other publisher, but I think my runner-up is Image. I have a lot of Image, and that's not just Mark Miller stuff. Like I'm all over the board with Image stuff. So,
right. Well,
speaking of Image,
yeah, wow, that was a great segue. I was just gonna think, how do we segue into this?
Have you ever thought about what's the furthest place from here?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I can't. Sometimes I do think about it, but anyways,
what
there's
does
a great
mean? Because like I guess in my head I would be like the farthest place from here is just the exact opposite side of the world, or and if you go straight up for forever, it's either the other side of the world or infinite. So like those are your options.
I think the comic really limits it to Earth. So we'll just say obviously it's going to be the opposite points of where you are on Earth. But I also don't think that the comic the comic is talking about like a specific distance from a certain point. I think it's more of like a
good name.
Yeah, it's just a good name, but but just more of like escaping like where you are and finding a better life is what it seems to be more going in the direction of. And this latest issue, which I think is 14,
I believe so. Yeah,
I absolutely love this one just because it is spooky season and just its release was perfect just to hop into October. I mean, it was released last week, so it was released in September, but right at the end of September, leading into spooky season.
Yep.
And so our main character, again, I'm sorry for getting her name.
It's fine.
She's basically like went to this house she thought might be abandoned, and then these people open the door and like, what are you doing at our house? And they're all like in Halloween costumes. Sid, yeah.
Yeah, they're all in Halloween costumes.
They're all in Halloween costumes, but they're gonna travel to the Boneyard, and my favorite thing throughout this comic is just that like they keep feeding her mushrooms, and she's pregnant, so she's just like tripping the entire time, but doesn't really know what's going on and can't tell what's real.
Right, she also doesn't know she's pregnant. So like, just to set this up for people who aren't too familiar with what's the farthest place from here, the story is originally about this group of teens that's kind of set in this like post societal world.
It's like an adolescent society where there's no adults and kids are kind of left to their own devices.
Right. Once you get to a certain age, you kind of just have to wander off and die, essentially. Something like that. We don't really know. We're slowly figuring it out, but it's just a weird world where like each house or like society has their own like shtick, and the main one,
their families is what they refer to them. Yeah.
And they're ruled by these people called the Strangers.
Yeah.
Correct. And so like they don't really know much about the Strangers, but the Strangers are like these weird creatures, and I thought they would just be like people in like masks or whatever.
I think that they are like the adults of the world, but they like had some sort of mutation happen that really hasn't been explained as to like why all these kids are living in a post-apocalyptic world and in these societies. We don't know a whole lot about like the Strangers, where they come from, and like what they're really up to.
Right. And it is like, it's a slow burn, but it's like very enjoyable because they keep kind of just, and I think like to play like devil's advocate here for a change,
You never do that.
Never do that. I don't mean this, because I'm willing to forgive it, but I think people could be reading this and kind of just seeing it as repetitive of like, oh, we're just meeting another group of wacky people. But I really love just thinking that like this post-apocalyptic world or post-societal world where like people are like, we live in a grocery store, so we all pretend to work here all the time. We've gone insane because my entire life I've pretended to work at a grocery store that isn't functioning. I think that there is like some sort of this underlying like just uneasy, like the whole time you're like just uneasy because people just kill each other, and then they're fine. They're just like, dang. And then like they just kind of keep rolling, except for kind of like the main group. They have a little bit more emotion, but still everyone is kind of like emotionally stunted.
Yeah.
But again, I don't even know if I've said a lick of anything about this current issue, but this like I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah.
We both didn't know that it was coming out.
So I was a bit surprised when I saw it in my box last week, and honestly, like I don't remember how long before the last issue came out, but it feels like it's been a long time.
I agree. I'm kind of worried now that this is going to be the
last issue 13 came out in May.
Oh, okay. I mean, so yeah, I mean that they took a break between whatever. It looks like issue number 15 is coming out soon. So I was kind of worried. Yeah, it's coming out next month. So I was kind of worried that this was just going to be like a Halloween one-off or something like that.
Well, yeah. That's another thing too that's really compelling about the series is that it's really untraditional. Like the arcs aren't really lined up like in it with, they're not packaged and put a nice little bow on it. Like I think the first arc is issues 1 through 7, but even in between that, they take out a couple that it's its own arc, but it takes place after what is technically like in the line of comics coming out would be the third arc, but the third arc actually happens amongst like the second one. I can't remember specifically, but
it's not as just complicated as that. But it is in the second arc. It jumps around a lot and telling the stories kind of before, and like there are some issues that just kind of got weaved in and out there that didn't touch on like any of the current timeline, but just was kind of looking at like these kids, and some of them are a lot of fun because it's with different artists, and they have like my favorite thing is that they have like the little versions of like the baby versions of a lot of these kids, and they're wearing the same outfits that they're wearing as adults. I think that's cute. And just the absurdity of this world. But I hope at the end of this arc we're somewhere new and somewhere kind of different.
Well, and like that's the other thing too, is just like where this one ends, like Sid has essentially gotten to at least what she thinks is the place that she's been searching for.
Yeah.
And it's not up to her liking. It's not what she thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And we really don't even know if like it's the place she was actually trying to find. So,
well, again, I don't even think she knows. I think she's just wondering. There might be some maps. I vaguely remember seeing a map in an issue because I read the second arc rather.
Well, and she even mentioned in the beginning of this issue, she's like, "Oh, I have the boneyard on my map." Like she says that somewhere in there. And so like she does have a map, but it was like a map that was drawn up by another person that used to be a part of her family that they passed on, but like the accuracy of it is just like unknown. And so she really is just wandering in different directions at any given time. And then just back to like how the arcs break up. So yeah, like arc 1 was issues 1 through 6, and then arc 2 is technically issues 10 through 13. So 7, 8, and 9 were like their own. Right. They were all essentially their own one shots, and I believe that the artist was different for each one of those, and so they're going to be collected in their own thing, I believe, or maybe lumped in with this new arc into a volume. But yeah,
I think issues 7 through 13 will probably be together, and I hope so. Because
because volume 2's came out in August, and it's just 10, 11, 12, and 13,
like the trade paperback.
7, 8, and 9 haven't been put into a trade yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Huh. I would that's kind of a bummer because my trade paperback for What's the Furthest Place from Here, the first arc, is probably one of my favorites that I have, just because it's like a big beefy boy, and
Yeah.
I would like to have the second one be a big beefy boy as well. But
Yeah.
anyways, that's just me loving big beefy boys.
You like the big beefy boys.
Sure
It's
do.
fine.
Well, hey,
Everybody has their thing that they like.
I honestly don't have that many comics that I want to spotlight this week. I think I just have like just two of them.
I don't either. So I was just gonna shout mine out. But if you would like to go first,
Do you want
by
to
all means,
rock paper scissors for it again? We've done this
let's
before.
do it.
Okay, rock paper scissors shoot. All right, rock paper scissors shoot. I got rock paper scissors. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I won.
Terrible. You can't watch. You just got to do it.
It's also hard. I don't know if there's like a lag.
Yeah, there's 100% a lag.
Oh
Space satellites. We
this
talked
week?
about this last week.
Oh, so one thing I wanted to talk about that I don't have because I got the trade for it. I read it, and then I was going to loan it to a buddy of mine, but then I ended up giving it to him because it was his birthday. And that was The Vineyard. I read The Vineyard, loved it. Really, really like Brian Hawkins. Brian Hawkins is actually the Kickstarter that I thought I was getting in the mail.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm trying to. That's the Black Cotton is what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, yep.
But yeah, I really liked it. Really like the art. But yeah, my buddy owns a wine shop downtown, and he's also into comics, and so he comes into my shop and chats with me, and I go drink wine at his place.
Good stuff.
And it just seemed like a good fit, and he was really excited to like get it in his hands, and he's like, I didn't even know this existed. This is so cool. So it was fun to see him. But something else that I read this week was The Ribbon Queen #3. Again, this series just continues to just go. Like it's really thrilling. It's 8 issues in total, so this is 3 of 8. And again, just it's like this horror detective PI comic. It's been really fun to read. There's like there's mystery is unraveling as it goes on.
On every page of the turn of the page. Wow, what's happening right now?
Yeah, and like in this issue, it kind of alludes to that the gal on the cover here may not actually be the Ribbon Queen, but she might be like possessed by the Ribbon Queen, or the Ribbon Queen is like its own entity that has used this gal as a vessel. But yeah, it's just such a fun series. I'm really glad that I'm like reading it and I'm on it. I think Kyle might be reading it too.
Yep.
So I need to see what he thought of issue 3, but that's really all I read this week. I also fit in the alternates finally. I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than like I enjoyed it because it still has kind of like this zany humor to its kind of dark maniacal villain kind of background. So I enjoyed it. We'll see how the ensuing issues do. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't get as much read this week as I thought I would. But
I mean, we did read 3 comics of a for our buddy Quicksand. I mean, and I was happy to read them. It was nice. It does, and again, just jumping back to it again, why I think it would be a very good movie is the story just flows very well.
Yeah.
Narrative is very good like that. And okay, so I need to eat crow. Is that the expression?
Sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? I need to make myself apologize. I talked about this comic last week, Junction Jones and the Corduroy Conspiracy, and I kept talking about my good friend that I had a lot of conversations with, TJ. Well, it turns out it's not his name. It's TC. And I'm so sorry about that I kept calling you the wrong name, because listening back to it, I was just like, oh, I sound like a fool. But yeah, my bad. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, just another great comic. That I don't normally like comics with a lot of dialogue, but I really like this because it just kind of seems like I don't want to say like a Kerouac poem, like something like very beatnik of just kind of like long and rambly and kind of just being like, you don't get the point, man. I'm trying to get to the point, man. And like just a lot of like that. And said this a little bit last week, but I just love the world that it's taken place. It's kind of like how do you say this? Like sci-fi, like hobo sci-fi would be the genre that I would put it in. It was
Okay.
just like if the entire like space wasn't so much, if it was just train themed, which I just am a big fan of, and just the hobo lore that he's kind of bringing into it and all that stuff. And so it's been an interesting comic, like just like, and we talk about this again, we've talked about this before in the podcast, of just really enjoying comics that do things outside of the norm and are like cool about it. There's this page in this issue, it's mostly in black and white, or like kind of like a gray bluish scale, but he walks through a crowded area that has like a big neon light, and then everything kind of just turns red for a couple of panels or pages or two or whatever, and then just goes back to whatever. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So the world is like actually just this like kind of pale diluted color, you know what I mean? So it's that. I'll see if I can find it real quick. But so it's actually a couple opening pages. You can see, like, if you're watching, it's kind of all just black and white, and then he goes through this area, and you can see on the page it fades into having a little bit more color there, and then as he goes away, it's just back to black and white. I think that's so super cool. So shout out to them. Good job on that. And then the last thing that I got into was Godzilla War for Humanity #2. Really enjoyed this. Kind of didn't really go anywhere. I liked it because so there's a new kaiju in town, and they're like, the kaiju is like kind of, well, I don't want to spoil anything. Never mind. The kaiju are kind of similar to, I was going to be the spoiler. This kaiju is sent to like balance things out on the earth. And so he's taking out a lot of humans, and they're like, the reason Godzilla isn't doing it is because Godzilla knows that this kaiju is here to kill humans, and that's its job. And the main person's like, no, I don't believe that. And for some reason, Mothra comes in and is like, hey, I'm going to get Godzilla on this. And then so Mothra and Godzilla have a fight for a couple of panels, and that's nice. Fun, it's very cute. Godzilla hits him with like his atomic breath, and then Mothra like flies off, and then the little Godzilla, I forget his name, he like shoots out like a little like atomic one, just a, like tiny like little solar bloops, whatever. But yeah, those are the comics that I got into this week. I started reading Dust #2, but I got a call from somebody at work, and then I had to stop and answer that. So I will pick that up probably after we wrap this up. But overall, good comics this week. I'm happy with everything I got into.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this week because since my stack from last week only got partially dwindled, I got a big stack this week. I got a big pile to choose from this week, so I'm looking forward to that. One other thing I read, I forgot about. I did read the latest Big Game.
Oh, nice.
Really enjoyed it. Still pretty excited about this series. I'm like, I don't know how to say, like, I'm ready for it to be over, but also like, I don't mean it in the sense like I want it to hurry up and finish. I'm just really excited. I want to get to the end because I want to know what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, the past 2 issues have been very like just leaving you like, what's happening? Like, that's pretty much just been the past 2 issues are just a lot of what's going on. So I think it'll be a nice, I feel like issues 4 and 5 will give us, 4 will start to give us some resolution, and then 5 will just be like the last big battle, with hopefully Kick-Ass fighting like every bad guy that Mark Miller's ever made. That's what I'm hoping for.
So Kick-Ass suits back up in this one, and that's super rad. And speaking of Kick-Ass, this reminded me, I did watch a movie with Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Hit Girl in the movie. So I watched a movie with her, and I think it's called A Shadow in the Clouds, and it's on Prime or it's on Hulu. And again, it's a horror action movie, and it has terrible reviews. But like my wife and I watched like the first half of it, and then we were interrupted by like having to deal with some like parenting stuff. And then we got back to like, oh, we can sit down and watch TV again. I at first was just like, I don't know how much I want to continue into this, but then I did. We finished the last half of it, and I really enjoyed it because it was like, it was a horror film, and then it became an action film in the last one, but like 80s style action film. And it's all Chloe Grace Moretz basically just being hit girl. And it was, I really enjoyed it. It was super fun. It's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but I really enjoyed it. So
awesome. All right, man. Well, hey, I think it might be time to saddle up this old horse and dive down into this giant hole that opened up in the earth.
Yeah, we're gonna ride it right off into the pit.
Oh yeah. Whee! Oh no. Space and time's different down here.
But yeah, so you can find us on Instagram at the pullboxpals, as well as most other social media platforms. That's TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Matt_nerdy, and you can find Monk at that Monk Guy 89. We do most of our conversation on Instagram, and we try to post reviews as frequently as we can. Some weeks we get busy and miss out, but they're there, and we enjoy engaging in the community. And if you are watching, listening, whatever you're doing, hit that like button, subscribe, give us some comments and reviews. We love to hear it. So
you're so good at that.
I'm starting to flow with a little bit more.
Yeah, you're getting you're like a horse. You're getting your hooves in a grooves. Is that a thing?
It is now.
It sure is. Wow. All right. Well, on that note, thanks for hanging out, everybody. We will see you next week. Same. I guess I wanted to say not the same time, but same channel. We did do it a little bit early this week, and we didn't address that elephant in the room. So sorry if you're tuning in now and we're heading out early. I mean, not really that early. Kind of went long. Anyways, good seeing you, Matt. I'll talk to you next week. And as always, I haven't read comics like these in years.
Get your hooves and grooves.
I was gonna do it's 5 o'clock somewhere, but that was